Welcome to the Investing in Valencia Podcast, the show for active investors, people who really want to unlock those real estate opportunities, transformation projects, and, smart strategies right here in one of Spain's most exciting markets.
Absolutely. This is where investment meets execution, right in the heart of Valencia.
And today we're diving into, well, a really crucial question, I think, for anyone looking to invest here for buy-let.
hmm
Are you better off buying an older property? Maybe one with potential for a really high-value renovation. Or do you go for the simplicity, the straightforwardness of a new build?
Yeah, that's a really key decision point when you're looking at Valencia right now. I mean, the market's buzzing, isn't it?
It really is.
And for good reason. You've got strong rental demand. Prices are still, well, relatively appealing compared to other places.
Definitely.
So for you listening, trying to figure out where to put your money, we're going to really dig into the pros and cons, the pluses and minuses of these two quite distinct approaches here in Valencia.
The idea is to give you the insights,
Right.
right, based on what we're actually seeing on the ground day in, day out.
Exactly. Make an informed decision.
And let's be clear up front, there's no single right answer here, is there?
Not at all. It really, really hinges on your own situation, your goals, how much risk you're comfortable with.
Yeah, and how much time and, frankly, effort you're prepared to sink into it.
Definitely.
So let's jump straight into option one. Let's call it the world of older properties here in Valencia. This is maybe the higher effort path, but potentially a higher reward too.
That's a good way to put it. Higher effort, higher potential. What's really fascinating with older places is the chance to, genuinely create value.
Right.
We're talking about properties that might need some serious work. Sometimes even properties with existing occupants who don't have a formal contract, the ocupas, as they're called here.
Ah, yes, that's a factor.
It is. So this strategy, it really suits investors who want to be active, who want to shape their investment, maybe aren't afraid of getting their hands dirty, metaphorically speaking.
Or who have a really solid team on the ground already.
Exactly. That's crucial if you're not here yourself. A good local team makes all the difference.
Okay, so let's unpack the upsides then. If you're thinking, right, I like the sound of transforming something old, what are the big advantages for you?
Well, probably the most obvious one often is the initial purchase price. It's just lower.
Right.
You might find a place for significantly less than a comparable new build, especially, like I said, if it needs a lot of work or has those legal knots to untangle, like dealing with squatters.
So that lower entry point frees up cash for the renovation maybe,
Oh,
or just for other things.
exactly. It gives you flexibility, either for the refurb itself or maybe even to buy another property sooner.
Makes sense. But it's not just about saving money up front, is it? It's the transformation potential.
Precisely. That's the core of it. A smart renovation, well-planned, well-executed, you can dramatically increase its appeal.
To tenants, you mean?
Yeah, to tenants first and foremost.
Yeah.
Better layout, modern kitchen, nice bathroom. That means you can usually charge a higher rent. And then, down the line,
Resale value.
resale value too, absolutely. If that's part of your plan, a good renovation can really boost the property's worth significantly.
So the basic idea is buy low, invest smartly in upgrades, and then reap the rewards through better rent.
That's the strategy in a nutshell.
And what about the actual return figures?
Yeah.
The yields? Are they generally higher with this approach compared to buying new?
Generally, yes. The potential for higher rental yields is definitely a major draw
Okay.
because your starting cost, your initial outlay is lower. Even with substantial renovation costs factored in, the rent you achieve can often represent a, more attractive percentage return on your total investment,
Especially in the good areas, I guess.
particularly in those really sought-after areas, yeah. Places where renovated apartments are hot property, but there aren't that many available. So you've got lower cost base, hopefully, combined with a strong rental price.
Leading to potentially quite nice returns for you. Got any ballpark figures?
Well, it varies hugely, obviously, but we've seen, well-done renovations in historic spots hitting yields of maybe 6%, sometimes even 7%, whereas a comparable new build, maybe a bit further out, might be closer to, say, 4 or 5%.
Okay, that's a noticeable difference.
It can be.
And we shouldn't forget the kind of intangible stuff either, right? The character, the location.
Oh, absolutely. That's a big part of the appeal for many. These older buildings, they often have unique features like mosaic floors, high ceilings, lovely old woodwork.
Things you just don't get in a new box.
Exactly, things with history, with soul. Plus, they're usually in these brilliant, established neighborhoods. You know, the really walkable parts of Valencia, the vibrant center.
Where everything's already there. The cafes, the shops, the transport.
Right. New developments, while they have their plus points, might take time to build that same kind of established atmosphere. Think about renting out a beautifully restored place in El Carmen versus a new block somewhere else. Different vibe.
Yeah, totally different appeal. Okay, so the potential for high returns, unique charm, great location, sounds pretty good. But there's always a but, isn't there?
Usually.
We need to be realistic. What are the big challenges, the headaches you need to be ready for as an investor?
You're right to ask. There are definitely hurdles. Dealing with squatters, the ocupas, that's a significant one we mentioned.
How big a deal is that, really?
It can be major. Evicting them in Spain,
Mm-hmm.
it's not quick. It's a legal process. Can be quite bureaucratic, actually.
So time and money.
Time and money, yes. You absolutely need specialist legal help, and it can drag on, which obviously impacts when you can start earning rent. It's a real potential delay and cost right at the start.
Okay. Something to factor in heavily if a property comes with that issue. What else? The renovation itself.
Yes, the renovation. It's often the biggest unknown. You can budget carefully, get quotes, but older buildings love hiding surprises.
Like what kind of surprises?
Oh, you know.
Yeah.
You start opening up walls and find the plumbing's ancient and needs replacing entirely. Or the electrics aren't up to code, maybe hidden damp, structural issues, things that weren't obvious from just looking.
So your budget can spiral.
It can definitely escalate. Quickly, you absolutely must have a decent contingency fund built into your calculations for this kind of project.
Yeah.
Maybe 15–20% extra, just in case.
Right. It's not just the visible stuff. It's planning for the unexpected beneath the surface.
Precisely. And then there's the management aspect, especially if you're investing from abroad.
Which many people are.
Which many are, yeah.
Yeah.
Managing a big renovation remotely, it's tough. You need boots on the ground,
A team you trust.
a really reliable local team,
Yeah.
architect, builder, various contractors, people who can handle the permits, oversee the day-to-day work, keep you updated. Finding that team takes time, due diligence, maybe requires a few trips over yourself.
Okay, so it demands active involvement, either yours or your team's. What about getting a mortgage for these places? Are banks keen?
Not always as keen as they are for new builds, let's say.
Right. Spanish banks can be quite conservative. A property in poor condition, or one with legal issues like squatters, they see that as higher risk.
So, harder to get the loan or worse terms.
Both are possible. You might face stricter criteria, need a larger deposit, maybe say 30 or even 40% down compared to maybe 20% for a new build, or the interest rate might be less favorable, at least initially.
Okay, so financing can be another hurdle to overcome.
It can be, yeah. So it's something to investigate early on.
Right, so let's summarize the older property route for our listeners.
Yeah.
Huge potential for higher returns, adding value, getting character in great locations. BOT. You need to be ready for possible legal fights with squatters, unpredictable renovation costs blowing your budget, the need for really active management or a great local team, and maybe trickier financing.
That sums it up pretty well. It's really for the investor who's up for a challenge, who sees the potential and is prepared to put in the work or find the right people to do the work to unlock that value.
It's active investing, basically. Very much so. Now, shall we look at the alternative, the other side of the coin?
Let's do it. Option 2, new builds in Valencia. The lower risk, maybe lower effort approach.
That's often how it's perceived, yeah. Less hassle, more predictability.
Ah, the allure of something shiny and new. Tell us about the advantages for you if you go down the new build route.
Well, the main appeal is convenience, really, and predictability. You're typically buying something that's ready to go, or will be soon if it's off plan.
Turnkey, basically.
Exactly. Built to modern standards, often comes with warranties on the construction, the appliances. It's designed to be a straightforward investment for you.
Okay, let's break down those benefits. What are the specifics?
Well, first off, you generally sidestep those legal headaches we just talked about with older places.
No squatters.
No squatters, no weird pre-existing tenant issues you might inherit. You're starting with a completely clean legal slate for the property itself, which is, reassuring.
Yeah, I can see the appeal, especially for someone maybe making their first investment in Spain, wanting a smoother entry.
Definitely. And you mentioned financing hurdles for older places. How do banks view new builds?
Yes, financing. Generally, much more favorably.
Easier. Much easier, usually. Banks see new builds as lower risk assets. They know what they're getting, so that often means easier loan approval for you and potentially better terms.
Like a smaller deposit needed.
Yeah, maybe only needing that 20% deposit we mentioned earlier and possibly a slightly better interest rate too makes the numbers easier to manage up front.
Okay, good to know. And what about once you own it? Ongoing costs, management,
That's another big plus, lower maintenance. At least for the first few years.
because everything's new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
New plumbing, new electrics, new boiler, new everything. So your repair bills should be minimal initially. Plus, modern construction usually means better energy efficiency.
Which tenants like? Lower bills for them.
Tenants love lower utility bills, absolutely. Makes the property more attractive to rent, and it's less hassle for you as the owner, too. Lower overall management burden.
Speaking of tenants, how do new builds fare in the Valencia rental market? Are they popular?
Very popular, yes, especially with a certain type of tenant.
Who's that?
People who really value modern comforts. Sleek kitchens, modern bathrooms, maybe built-in air conditioning, good insulation. They like the clean finishes and the efficiency.
So potentially easier to rent out quickly, less empty periods.
Potentially, yes. That modern appeal can lead to faster tenant placement and maybe lower vacancy rates for you over time. It's seen as a hassle-free option for the renter, too.
Okay, so it definitely sounds like a much more straightforward, less demanding path for an investor. Less stress, maybe?
Generally, yes. But like we said before, there are always trade-offs, aren't there?
Always. So what are the downsides? Why wouldn't everyone just buy new builds?
Well, the most significant one usually is the price tag. They just cost more upfront.
You pay for the convenience.
You absolutely pay a premium for the convenience, the modern features, the newness. Especially if you're buying off plan before it's even built, developers often price those at a premium, banking on future value.
Right, so you're paying top market rate or maybe even slightly above.
Often, yes.
And how does that higher initial cost usually affect your returns, your rental yield?
Logically, it tends to push the yield down. Your starting investment is higher, right? And because the place is already modern, there's not much scope for you to add significant value through renovation like you can with an older place.
You can't really flip a new build in the same way.
Not really, no. So higher cost in, limited value add potential, that typically means the rental income represents a smaller percentage of your total investment, lower yield.
So back to that trade-off, you're potentially sacrificing some of that higher yield you might get from an older property renovation.
Exactly. You swap that potential upside for a smoother ride, less risk, less hassle. It's a choice.
A choice between higher potential yield with more effort and risk versus a potentially lower but more predictable income stream with less fuss.
That's a really good way to put it, yeah. Another thing to consider, especially if you are buying off-plan.
The risks before it's even built.
Exactly. Construction risk, it happens. There can be delays in finishing the project, sometimes significant delays.
Right, so your planned rental income gets pushed back.
Correct. Or sometimes the final quality isn't quite what was promised in the brochure. Or maybe minor changes are made to the plans along the way. You're putting a lot of faith in the developer delivering.
So you need to really research the developer's track record.
Absolutely crucial. Due diligence on the developer is key when buying off plan.
Okay. Anything else on the downside?
Just one more point, maybe slightly more subjective. It's about the character or sometimes the initial lack of it.
In the development itself or the area?
Both sometimes. While many new developments are really well designed, some can feel a bit sterile initially, especially in newer areas that are still developing.
They haven't got that lived-in feel yet.
Exactly. It can take time for the shops, cafes, parks, and just the general community vibe to really establish itself around a new development, compared to stepping out your door in a historic neighborhood.
It's just different. You gain the modern amenities, the low maintenance. But you might lose some of that immediate charm and established community feel that attracts people to Valencia's older districts. It appeals to a different tenant, maybe.
It does. It's a different proposition.
So, okay, we've looked at both sides now. The high effort, high potential old properties, and the lower risk, lower effort new builds. Bring it all together. What are the key takeaways for someone listening, trying to decide which way to jump in Valencia?
Well, like we said right at the beginning, it really boils down to you. There's no single best way.
It depends entirely on your personal situation.
Exactly. What are your investment goals? Are you chasing the highest possible return? Or is steady, predictable income more important? How much risk can you stomach?
And crucially, how much time and energy can you realistically commit? Or do you have the budget for a great team to handle the tough stuff?
Those are the key questions. If you're someone who enjoys a project, you're looking to actively maximize your returns, and you're either hands-on or have that trusted local team.
Then the older property renovation route could be really rewarding for you here in Valencia.
Potentially very rewarding, yes. It's about creating that value yourself and aiming for those higher yields.
But if your priority is more about, say, passive income, a hands-off investment, something straightforward.
Then a new build might be the better fit. Less stress, fewer surprises, more predictable income stream. Even if the absolute return percentage might be a bit lower, it's turnkey.
Less hassle, more passive.
Pretty much. And look, this is exactly where we at Investing in Valencia can help people figure things out.
Right. Because weighing all this up can be tricky.
It can. So we work closely with investors, just like you listening, to really evaluate both paths. We look at your specific goals, your budget, your risk appetite, how involved you want to be.
And then help figure out which strategy makes the most sense for you.
Exactly. Whether you're excited by the thought of transforming an old gem, maybe creating a fantastic turnkey renovated apartment.
Which we know are really popular.
They really are. Or whether you prefer the simplicity of buying a brand new place off the shelf. We guide you through it.
Absolutely. We know in navigating the Valencia market, weighing these options, it can feel like a lot. So that's what we're here for, to offer that expertise, that support. So if you are ready to explore the possibilities here in Valencia, and you'd like some help figuring out if an older property project or a new build investment is right for your goals,
please do get in touch.
yeah, just drop us an email. It's info@investingatvalencia.com. We're genuinely here to help you unlock the right opportunity for you in Valencia. Finding that perfect renovation candidate or securing a modern, ready-to-rent apartment, we guide you every step.
Because at the end of the day, in a market as vibrant as Valencia, success isn't just about finding a property. It's about executing the right strategy for you.
Well said. Investment meeting execution.
That's the key. And our team's focus is making sure your execution leads to success, whichever path you choose.
Exactly. Unlocking those real estate opportunities in Valencia, whether it's bringing an old building back to life or stepping into something brand new, it is definitely within reach. We look forward to hearing from you at info@investingatvalencia.com.
Definitely. Until the next deep dive.